Turn 1 Soul Ring.
Ooh, yeah. Nice.
I hate to start with a throat clearing, but it is what it is.
You know.
Covered it up with our weirdness.
Yeah.
Hey, there's barely any, but for the new Innistrad set, Infernal Grasp, 1 and a black, destroy target creature, you lose 2 life at instant speed?
Is that a common?
It's uncommon.
That'd been great if it was a common.
I mean, even at uncommon,
that
card is it's insane.
Still great.
No, I know it's great. I'm just thinking about Pauper. I'm always thinking about Pauper.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But that is
But what a removal spell.
that is pretty nuts. That makes me want to draft real hard. I love a good piece of premium removal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Probably one of the best kill spells we've seen in
a long time, because a lot of the 2/1s are like, oh, destroy target non-black, non-artifact, stuff like that. This is just you lose 2 life.
Oh,
You can hit anything.
that's nothing. I remember that one from Amonkhet where it was 4 and a black for a sorcery, and you exiled a creature, and that was a hot ticket in limited. So this is just crazy, and I don't anticipate a ton of things making it really easy to bring creatures back from the graveyard in this set. But I guess werewolves are undead.
There are zombies. Like, you don't expect grave recursion?
Oh, there are zombies? I thought
Yeah.
I thought only werewolves were allowed.
No, there's zombies in there as well. They spoiled
This whole set is just werewolves.
Werewolves and humans.
Yeah, take
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Yeah, no, they spoiled Champion of the Perished.
Oh,
which is a zombie.
That's right. That is such a cool,
flavor?
The flavor
Ooh.
is palpable.
Yeah, it's really good.
All right, everybody. Well, we're going to start the show. It's Turn 1 Soul Ring, and I'm Kevin.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Riley.
He's Riley. And today on the show, we're going to be Dexplaining Eric's Volo Guide to Monsters Commander deck. As usual, I've looked into the commander's backstory, and we'll cover that up top. Then we'll get to the deck categories and wrap things up with our honorable mentions segment. But before we find out a bit more about this commander's story, Eric has to let you all know how you can get in touch with us.
Definitely over on Instagram at Turn 1 Soul Ring the Podcast. You can message us directly via email, turn1soulringthepodcast@gmail.com. We're throwing everything up under YouTube. Check us out over there. Easiest way is Turn 1 Soul Ring the Podcast. And if you are a big fan of our show, we have something on our patreon.com/turn1soulring page for you to go and check out. Lots of cool things over there for our tier levels and stuff. So why don't you go check her out?
Yes, I'm sure you can find something that will pique your interest over there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Backstory.
So, from what I could gather about this legendary creature, his origins lay in the Dungeons and Dragons RPG game. And before we started recording, Riley and Eric were both telling me how a lot of the characters from this set are from that our Dungeons and Dragons IP. Which I guess I think we talked about this during our set review, and it seems obvious now, but you guys have to remember, I have no frame of reference, and I don't do research, so it's a double-edged sword. So basically, the character Volo was the author of Volo's Guide to Monsters, which was a real life 5th edition D&D source book that described monsters' lore and layers, how to play monster character races, and gave the stat blocks of many monsters, old and new. So I have here a blurb from the source book. Research has never been so dangerous. The esteemed lore master Volothamp Gedarm is back. He's written a fantastical dissertation covering some of the most iconic monsters in the worlds of Dungeons and Dragons. Registered trademark. But the Sage of Shadowdale himself, Elmister, doesn't believe Volo gets some of the details quite right. Don't miss out as Volo and Elmister team up to illuminate the uninitiated on creatures both common and obscure. Sure to inspire any dungeon master, this book explores the stories and layers of various monsters, including giants, mind flayers, orcs, and goblinoids. Players can also find rules for playing a variety of new races, including the angelic Asimar and the feline Tabaxi. Kind of sounds like taxi. Also included are game statistics for scores of monsters, some new to the game, and some that hail from the game's past, which are ready to appear in D&D adventures as mighty friends or fearsome foes.
I had a cat named Taxi.
That's right. And then when the cat was lost, Riley's mom would be outside calling for the cat, and it sounded like she was calling for a cab.
Yeah. Just like she used to have a dog named Sunshine.
Yeah.
And when Sunshine ran away, she went out at night screaming for Sunshine.
Why did they run from her?
I don't know.
Because she seems like a really nice person.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, Taxi's a cat. Like, he's gonna go explore, right?
Sure.
I don't know why Sunshine got out. But...
So I couldn't find any information about Volo's life prior to writing the book, but afterward, he traveled to Port Nyanzaru, where he visited several taverns to promote his work. And he also sold signed copies to the merchant princes and to adventurers for 50 GP, and that's gold pieces to the uninitiated. So after finishing his book tour, Volo returned to Waterdeep, which is, I guess, where he's from, where he ran into financial difficulties while he waited for royalty payments from his book. In order to offset his debt, he began working on his next book, which was called Volo's Guide to Spirits and Specters. And that's pretty much all I have for you guys. I have a nitpick, though. How would starting to write a new book offset the financial difficulties of royalty payments from the first book? It's like, dude, if you're writing the book, you're not getting paid to write. You only get paid when the book is done. So, anyways.
That's so good.
So, before we get to the categories here, we'll start off by reading the commander. It is Volo Guide to Monsters, and you can get this in one of those cool alternate art, like monochromatic forms, which are kind of, some of them are cool. It's definitely not my favorite form of like the collector's boosters alternate art kind of thing. That's an episode though. If we're like talking about, like, they do a few more like collector's boosters, talk about like our favorite alt art styles.
Do tier lists.
We should do a tier list. That's coming up, everybody, so stay tuned. So we have Volo, Guide to Monsters, of course. He's 2 and Simic, so green and blue, for a 3/2 legendary human wizard. And whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. So it sounds kind of restrictive, but I've been piloting a Brawl deck with Volo at the helm, and I've played against him many times in Brawl. It's very popular right now, and it's really not that restrictive. It's kind of just Value Town.
So I also wanted to preface this whole deck tech here. This was interesting. Like, I think to make Volo work, you don't need to have every single creature have a different creature type. If you have some overlap, the deck will probably still work because you do have 100 cards, obviously. Mm-hmm. But I decided to go all the creatures do not overlap at all.
Yeah.
So there's 45 creatures in this deck, and all of them are different creature types.
Yeah, we'll just go with the sure thing. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Also, it was pretty cool, but also I found out that, like, all of the, like, I was using Scryfall and I was looking through, like, creature types and stuff, and all of those, like, secondary sets, like the Unhinged and stuff, really bloat how many creature types are on that list.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Good lord. Yeah.
Because there's cow. There's like 2 cows from that set. There's did you know that there's a gamer creature type? Because I did.
Is that like Timmy? Oh, it's Spike.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think there is a
there's
Timmy
3 of
as
them.
well. Yeah.
There's 3 of them, yeah.
And then there's Johnny combo player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Timmy Power Gamer. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I do respect that you had no overlap, because then it's always it's always a sure thing.
You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to check what's in your graveyard or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're just like, yep, I'm getting 2.
Yeah.
Deck categories.
Before we get to the first category, or we're getting to it now. And as usual, you can follow along with us as we go through them by using the link at the top of the show notes. That'll take you to the deck on Deckstats. So the first category that we have here is Let's Win with Damage, which I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but I'm always tickled by the titles of Eric's categories. Many of them, they're very good. He's good at titles. So we have Craterhoof Behemoth, Endray's Forerunners, Giant Ataphage, and Pathbreaker Ibex.
I totally forgot about Pathbreaker Ibex being a creature.
Well,
it used to be a budget option, but I think it's gone up quite a bit.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's. I don't think it's quite $20, but it will be.
It's
if
over
it doesn't,
20.
Okay, because it needs a reprint.
Yeah.
It's just that one.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was it reprinted in Commander Anthology?
Yeah.
Or has it? And
Yeah,
it's still
looks like
it's still that expensive. Wow.
Yeah, honestly, it's not really worth $20 if you ask me. I think I got my copy when it was still a bulk rare.
No, it's not. It's just that it's more that it needs a reprint. It's the it's the Imperial Recruiter effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's because it's like so weak for how much mana it costs, and then you need it to stick out a turn unless you can give it haste.
Yeah. But I mean, like, you're going for all different. Wow, Imperial Recruiter is like $10 now.
Yeah, it's very cheap. Double Masters.
There you go. But yeah, obviously,
Modern Horizons 2. It was just reprinted.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a double hit.
It did. Wham bam.
Well, it definitely needed it. Great card. It's a
so
good time
good.
to pick it up.
Yeah. Now is the time.
Either way, like, you're going for the stipulation of all different creature types, so I think that's definitely a good option to have to kind of get like an overrun effect on a creature.
Yeah. And
that's your goat.
Yeah.
that's
not too many good goats.
That's the goat for Riley. He's our goat man.
Definitely one of the better goats. Unless you're looking for a mountain goat.
Yeah. What is a mountain goat again? Like, it's a...
Oh, it's red for a 1/1 with mountain walk.
That mountain walk.
So I love the inclusion of Giant Ataphage. It's 5 double green for a 7/7 insect with trample. When it deals combat damage to a player, you create a token that's a copy of it. So this can get really, really, really out of hand, and in an ideal situation with all of these creatures, you're casting them when Volo is already on the battlefield. So you get 2 of these. Even if you can't give them haste, it's like this even with one of these, this snowballs. So this is just a creature that I don't see this often, but it is really just creating a copy of it is so, it can be so backbreaking even in a 4-player pod. I've been in control of a situation like that, and it can be rough. I won that game, by the way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had one in our league.
Yeah, it was in the Naya tokens deck. I can't remember the name of that commander, but
Geared or whatever it was.
Geared. Yeah, it gave you the rhinos, and he populated. Yeah. So you populate,
and the precon only came with 1 rhino token.
I know, it came with so many eggs. It's like, just do Atla Polani. It was like calling to me.
Yeah.
So the next category we have here is the value.
There we go.
We have Apex Devastator, Avenger of Zendikar, Consecrated Sphinx, Mere Battlesphere, Pathraiser of Ulamog, Tendershoot Dryad, and Wormcoil Engine. Shout out to Tendershoot Dryad and any other card that's like... I'll read it. It's 4 and a green for a 2/2 Dryad. It has Ascend, so if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green Sapling creature token, and they get Saplings you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the City's Blessing. And I just wanted to shout it out because it's at the beginning of each upkeep. I think all cards that have that are just like, you got to give those a second look, because that's incredible.
And having 2 Tendershoot Dryads, that's pretty dope. So you're making like 2 5/5s each upkeep.
Yeah.
Which is just bonkers.
Yeah,
So it goes around the table once. You're like, oh yeah, that's 40 power.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm good. Crater Hoof.
right, and throw like Concordant Crossroads is and then none of the cards I'm about to mention are on my honorable mentions, but like Concordant Crossroads, right, is great. But there's also just like if you just wanted to give everything haste in these colors, Chroma's Memorial, right, and then you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna kill everybody.
Apex Devastators. Well, it's a newer one. It's from Commander Legends, but definitely one that, it's going to generate a lot of value because it's Cascade. But Cascade doesn't work quite very well with Volo because you wouldn't get the Cascades on the copied version.
No, so you are only getting 4 Cascades.
Only.
But
But you're getting the tokens on each cast if you cast a creature.
Yeah, you're still getting a 10-10 out
Exactly.
of the deal. You're getting a vanilla 10-10.
you get a 10/10, and then every Cascade, if it's a creature, you do still get the 2 creatures from Volo.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah.
Yes, so you could be getting a lot onto the board.
Yeah.
I also really like Mauldrifter Riley, but I really had to just go for Avenger of Zendikar for the elemental in the deck.
I know, I was very sad. It's like, no. But I bet you can guess what's on my honorable mentions list.
And like, this category, like it is true to its name. Because even on their own, these creatures are pretty devastating.
Yeah.
And will generate you a lot of value, but if you can copy them, it's like 2 consecrated sphinxes. Come on.
Yeah, like that's really dirty. Like, yeah,
It's like you need
just
to
more than unnecessary.
well, think about what a removal target consecrated sphinx is. It's like now I need 2 removal spells. Like, good thing this is Commander. Jesus.
yeah, there you go. And like, I had this other worm I wanted to use, but Wormcoil Engine just is so much goddamn power. It's just I'm just gonna throw this.
So
in.
good. And like Wormcoil Engine is like crept back up to $40. It's crazy. I mean, it's not crazy.
Cheese.
It's a good card, right? It's a good card, but like, I mean, I picked up my copies for like $10 when like Commander Anthology 2 came out, right? And that was there was far fewer Wormcoil Engines from that set put on the market than Double Masters, but Double Masters is like over 500 USD a box now.
Yeah.
So it's
a lot of good cards in that
a lot of
set.
good cards, and you get 2 rares every pack, so you're bound to get something good, right?
That's how that works.
Next up, we have unique utility creatures.
Unique New York.
Crashing Drawbridge, Elusive Crassus, Fleet Feather Cockatrice, Gamazoa, Junkwinder, Kaiga the Tidestar, Master Symmetrist, Murkfiend Liege, Peregrine Drake, Spark Double, Temur Sabertooth, Vizier of the Menagerie, Voracious Great Shark, and a MDFC here. So it's Wandering Archaic on one side, and the other side is Explore the Vasselins.
Gomazoa, eh?
Yeah, I wanted a jellyfish, and like this one puts creatures back on their libraries, and then they have to shuffle. So it's like this really makes a person not want to attack into you.
Yeah, that is
I've never seen Gomazoa cast in Commander, so you definitely got me there.
Yeah, there's my jellyfish.
Yeah.
The wall I thought was really good as well because Crashing
we
Drawbridge.
were just talking about that, right?
Very
totally,
good.
Yeah.
Totally forgot
Very
about
good
Crashing
card.
Drawbridge. And
Double
run
haste?
This, yeah, I run this and Concordant Crossroads in Yisan, but this is definitely like a newer card that gives haste to any color. I think should I put this in? I'm forgetting the name. Unesh Sphinxes. Should I put this in there?
Boy.
Does it need it? I don't think it needs it.
I don't
I'd
think
have
it
to take out
needs
a
it.
counterspell for this.
Yeah, I don't think you need it in that deck.
I really like the interaction with Kaiga the Tidestar.
Yeah.
Just like
nice.
legend ruling itself to gain control of somebody's creature.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty spicy there.
Yeah.
That's the only legend I think I put in because it got like value right off the play.
Yeah, makes sense. And I mean, it's a good card as is, right? Like it's a decent threat, and if it goes away, it's gonna take something. So
Exactly.
And I recently, I think we were talking about on a recent episode, Vizier of the Menagerie. It's 3 and a green for a 3/4 Naga cleric. It lets you look at the top card of your library anytime, and you can cast creature spells from the top of your library, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast creature spells, regardless of whether or not they're on top of your library. But in this deck that's very creature heavy, having this creature on the battlefield, of course, it's just puts an extra card into your hand, and gives you that top deck information. But there's no real benefit to having 2 of these. But just as a value piece, I think this card's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like if somebody doesn't like that ability as well, and say you do get the cast trigger off Volo, it's like, well, now one removal spell doesn't get rid of this ability.
That's a really good point, too, with this deck, right? Like, you really have to deal with Volo if you want to have any hope of dealing with the rest of the board. Of course, you can have board wipes and things like that, but in terms of spot removal, it doesn't really do the job when you have these token effects.
Mm-hmm. I really love Temur Sabertooth.
Just as a card, period.
Just as
it's
a card.
Fantastic card. Any card with an activated ability and then a colon is like, sign me up.
Yeah, just a great card. A little bit of a weird interaction with Volo, though. Like, if you have a copy of a creature and then you return the original creature to your hand and then like recast it, like the copy, Volo's going to check that the copy is still the same creature type, so you wouldn't double it up from that point. But like, obviously, like if that copy goes away at some point, or if you bounce the copy as well, you could get the double trigger again.
So we also have Peregrine Drake, which when it enters the battlefield, untap up to 5 lands. When you get the copy, you can like tap your lands and then have the trigger resolve, and then tap your lands again and untap them. So you pay 5 mana, and then you're actually getting 10 mana back.
Mm-hmm.
And then using Temur Sabertooth to bounce things, you kind of have like infinite mana at that point.
Oh yeah, Peregrine Drake is a dumb card.
Yep.
Urza Saga.
Banned in Pauper.
Yep.
Yeah.
For good reason.
It is banned in Pauper. That's right.
But I did think also this was the one deck that we could have Junkwinder do some stuff.
I love Junkwinder. We talked about this on our Modern Horizons 2 set review. So it's 5 blue for a 5/6 serpent. It has affinity for tokens, and whenever a token enters the battlefield under your control, tap target non-land permanent and opponent controls. It doesn't untap during its controller's untap step.
Yeah, it's pretty spicy.
Yeah, and like, you're doing so much of that. Like, I've seen, not this deck, but again, going back to Brawl, it gets to the late game. You have Volo on the battlefield. You have a bunch of mana. You can protect him, and you're just casting spells. And, Junkwinder in that scenario can just tap down all kinds of things and just make way for a lethal amount of combat damage.
Mm-hmm.
I also didn't think about this until now, but then like if we have the Junkwinder and we also have the Sabertooth and the Drake like I was talking about before, you can literally just tap down the whole board.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, yeah. I'm sure if you have Temur Sabertooth and Peregrine Drake, like, you're gonna figure out a way to
you're gonna do some
ruin
stuff.
somebody's day.
Yeah, like Simic, good color combination. Who knew?
Who knew?
Yeah.
Okay, so our next category is creatures to draw you cards. And we have Fipplethib, the Lost, Filigree Familiar, one of my favorites, and Thought Sponge. So Thought Sponge is 3. It's 3 and a blue for a 1/1 sponge with flash, and it enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the greatest number of cards an opponent has drawn this turn. And when it dies, you draw cards equal to its power. And I remember this card from our...
Oh, it's bad.
I think that was like Commander 2019 set review.
Yeah.
I think it was the first Commander set review that we did. And I don't think
it was the
we've
Kadena
talked
one.
about this card since then. Yeah, it's in the Kadena deck. But but I like it in this deck. The fact that it copies, I like it.
I mean, it's a sponge, so there's not too many sponges out there.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
of course.
I don't like the card in general, but like it is a sponge.
No other sponges. But if somebody draws 2 cards, you get 2 3/3s on the board, and so when they die, that's like 3 cards each.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's right. It's 3 cards each because it's equal to its power. Yeah, and I mean Filigree Familiar is one of my all-time favorite cards. This was just a home run card in my Duretti deck. It's 3 mana for a 2/2 artifact creature fox. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life, and when it dies, you draw a card. And what
a little bit of life gain,
what else
and
do you
like
want?
you got a little trump block and fox.
Although if you want it in foil, I would suggest spending a little bit more money and going with the Kaladesh foil, because if you go with the Commander Legends foil, it's just you just don't know what you're gonna get, and you don't want that. I love the set, but the foiling.
Oh yeah,
it's not.
The printing was not the best.
It's bad, and it's not even the curling. I can live with the curling. It's the smokiness. They just don't look good. But anyways. So the next category is creatures can ramp. Yes, they can. We have Birds of Paradise, Dawn Shredder Elk. That's the elk for Riley. He's kind of our bovine guy. If it's a hooven creature, he likes it. Next we have Kiora's Follower, Maraleaf Pixie, Ornithopter of Paradise, Sakura Tribe Elder, Solemn Simulacrum, Sylvan Caryatid, and Wood Elves. I like that you didn't go with the kind of standard boilerplate Simic pieces here. It's just kind of, I know you're trying to stick with individual creature types, but it's kind of refreshing for a Simic deck. Like, you have like Kiora's Follower, which is like a home run card, especially if you have a permanent that can tap for multiple mana. You have
I kind of forgot to put a card in the deck that goes well with that card, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. But yeah, you just kind of have, you got like your Sylvan Caryatid. It's 1 and a green that gives you any 1 mana, which, isn't ideal, but it does have hexproof, and you have the plant creature token. And I'm while I'm going through this list, I'm also trying to remember, I'm also thinking best case scenario, we have 2 of these.
Yeah, like definitely even like playing the Sakura Tribe Elder on turn 2 is always good to get us up to other stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's like if we draw these cards later, they just get us even more value.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think that's the best way to build the ramp package in a deck like this. And, you have all these creatures that Volo will care about because they're creatures. But when we get to the mana ramp section of this deck, which is artifacts and sorceries, we also have just some cards that are just a sure thing, right? They're always going to work, and you can't copy them. Not that the creatures in this section aren't a sure thing. It's just if you can copy them, great.
And even like I really liked the Dawn Shredder Elk. Just the 1 and a green for a 2/2 elk, but you pay 1 green and you sacrifice it to search your library for a basic land card, put on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle.
Yeah, perfect.
I think I actually like it better than what do you guys think of Burnished Heart's position these days?
It's not good.
I don't like it.
It's not good. It's too slow because it's like, isn't it 3 to cast and then 2 to activate?
It's 3 to
activate.
So it's 3 to cast and 3 to activate?
Yeah.
I feel the same way about Burnished Heart as I do about Myriad Landscape. And I feel like Myriad Landscape, like I'm getting to the point where I don't want Myriad Landscape in my precons almost as much as I don't want Temple of the Forsaken Gods.
False God. Yeah.
False God.
Actually, you know what? I want Temple more because Myriad enters tapped.
Yeah.
And at least if I have the 4 lands already, Temple's going to do something for me.
Yeah.
Just like I don't know if anyone ever thought I was gonna praise Temple of the False God on this show, but I just did.
Well, I mean, it's a low bar, right?
Yeah, it is a low bar.
Yeah.
But no, I would definitely have like Dawn Treader Elk than Burnished Heart. The only catch is you have to be in green. Like Burnished Heart is
Yeah.
colorless.
It's any color.
And I'll be interested to see, like, going back out into the wild, if like how much Burnished Heart sees play, like when we have things like Ornithopter of Paradise and
good
Solom's
mana
a
rocks.
staple. And better mana rocks. Like we have
Yeah.
liquid metal coating, or not liquid metal coating, liquid metal torque from Modern Horizons 2, right? It's just a good 2 mana rock. You don't have to even care about its secondary activated ability. But yeah, Burnished Heart it's just too slow. Maybe if it had haste, but then you could just swing with it, and they don't want that.
Well, I don't even think haste would do anything for it. Like, honestly, it's just a 2/2.
Because you need to have the mana on turn 6. If you could just, you know what, it would be if they did sort of a revamp where it's just like print a new card. It's called like Unburnished Heart, and it's same stat line, same casting cost, but you
One
can
to activate.
you can no, it's like Necrologia, so it's 0 to activate. You can tap, sacrifice it, but you can only do it no, you just sacrifice it, no tapping, because then we have to worry about summoning sickness. So you can just sacrifice it, but you have to do it, you can only do it like during a certain phase. Like, what is Necrologia? Let me look it up here.
This sounds way
It's
too
so
complicated.
complicated.
You know, I would like Burnished Heart if it cost 2 mana and had an activated ability of 3. Kind of like a Wayfarer's Bauble effect, where it's like,
Yeah, but
you know,
more expensive.
first turn, Wayfarer's Bauble, second turn, crack Wayfarer's Bauble.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
Wayfarer's Bauble is playable. It's good.
Great. It's so good. Yeah, I run it in New Nesh.
Yeah. And, I mean, worst case scenario, you're spending 3 mana to crack it that turn, right?
Yeah. Totally.
But Burnished Heart, you're spending 6 mana to crack it the turn you play it. And even then, like, if you cast it on turn 3, it has to live. It has to live until turn 4, and then you're taking turn 4 off as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just very clunky. I feel like Commander has come a long way with respect to like average mana value and the speed of the format, that like you just don't have the time to take turn 3 and turn 4 off just to develop your lands.
No way. Anyways, Necrologia, you can only cast it during your end step, so something like that. But I think Riley's idea is more constructive overall, so we'll go with that one. So the next category we have is ETB removal. We have Acidic Slime, Apex Altasaur, Duplicant, Scourge of Fleets, Terracodon, Uktabi Orangutan, Wicked Wolf, and Wicked Wolf. That's it. That's the category. I had to scroll up. I had to check. I guess I couldn't count while I was reading. I love Terracodon. It's 6 green for a 9/9 elephant. When it enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller creates a 3/3 elephant creature token, which is important to for each creature put into a graveyard this way is important to remember, because if someone has like a Rest in Peace or a Leyline of the Void out, they're not getting those 3/3s. But just from a design perspective, I love Terracodon because it just does exactly what you want it to do. You just get to blow up a bunch of non-creature permanents, and you can hit lands, and if you can get 2 of these, great. Get them. Blow up 6. Get some 3/3s. Don't worry about it, because you got 2 9/9s.
There's a lot of good oozes in Magic, and it was really hard to choose, but I think Acidic Slime was, just for the removal aspect, really good.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it might be the best ooze for this category.
Definitely for this category.
Because it can hit lands.
Uktabi Orangutan. So 2 and a green for an ape. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact. I mean, good card. It's definitely been outclassed in its time, but like, obviously, if you're looking for an ape this kind of fits the bill. The artwork is always something, though.
It's pretty wacky.
Or are those
Yeah.
two apes banging?
That's the running joke, and Magic.
Oh,
even
I've never
played
seen
into
this
that.
card before.
Yeah, Magic even played into that joke because there's I think it's like an unglued or like an unhinged card that has like a pregnant monkey in the background, and it's like Uktabi Kong or something like that.
Oh, I did not know that. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I wonder what the artist was thinking. That's interesting.
Yeah, just search up Kong on Scryfall and you'll see Uktabi Kong.
Yeah, it's like the same kind of artwork too. They're on
Yeah.
that tree branch and everything.
Yeah, and one of them's Pragos.
Wow.
But I like how it's like tap 2 untapped apes you control. Put a 1/1 green ape creature token into play.
They went full in on that. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
That's pretty
That's
gross.
hilarious. But yeah, like obviously, like I love Rex Sage, but we need some mana ramps. So I was like, what else is in this kind of category? This doesn't hit an enchantment, but at least it still hits an artifact. So
Yeah.
at the least, you'll be hitting some people's mana ramp.
There's always a lot of artifacts out there. I also like the inclusion of Apex Altasaur. It's 7 at green for a 10/10 dinosaur. When it enters the battlefield, it fights up to one target creature you don't control, and it has Enrage. So whenever it's dealt damage, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. So you can kind of just like go down the line, and if you do the math right, it can survive, and you can sort of ping off some creatures. I've always wanted to slot this into a deck, and I just haven't found the right one for it. But again, even on its own, it's great. But if you can get 2 of them, like you can really clear some space so that you can swing in for some combat damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not a maze, so it's a good thing you don't control.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to, so you don't have to target.
Is it up to? Oh,
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
to 1. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you're good. Okay.
And it's nice that the enrage trigger. Oh, I mean, it's always there, right? So even after the fact, if your 10/10 sticks around, every time you swing in, if they want to chump block, something's gonna be eaten, right?
Yeah. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Because is this from a commander set?
Yeah, I think this one, same set as that Thought Sponge. So the Kadena deck.
No, it's like
Yeah.
reasonable. What's Thought Sponge? Let's look up the price on that.
Probably
Thoughts.
pennies.
What, 50 cents?
I bet Trevor has one in his collection. He just likes sponges.
I've got both of these cards because I played the Kadena deck.
It's 17 cents on Scryfall.
There you
Oh
go.
boy.
All right, so the next category we have is Mana Ramp. We have Arcane Signet, Farseek, Rampant Growth, Simic Signet, Soul Ring, and 3 Visits. Just nice, sure
Good
thing,
cards.
close to the ground. We have mostly 2 mana. Perfect. You cast.
Yeah, and like obviously the average CMC of this deck is definitely high at 4.2.
Right.
But having this low mana ramp and then also the creatures that come out, a lot of the low mana stuff is just ramp anyways, so you should be pretty good to be able to play stuff from the deck.
Yeah, and a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of times, you can hopefully cast one of these on turn 2 and then cast Volo on turn 4. And it's, in Commander, it probably won't get removed right away, right? Like, how many times have I gotten early Yisan out and it just, doesn't get removed? So I think it's a little,
Yeah, sometimes
little different.
sometimes
1v1.
people don't draw the removal.
And
They
you
don't.
You got a Soul Ring to untap with your Kiora's Follower. There you go.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. And the next section, you got another card that can be untapped.
So we have utility artifacts that is the next category. It's Crystal Shard, Darksteel Plate, Lightning Greaves, Strionic Resonator, and the Great Henge. And I think Riley was referring to Darksteel Plate. The Great Henge is insane. I've played this card in Pioneer. I've played it in Commander. I've played it in Brawl. I've played it in Standard. It's crazy. So it's, in case you don't know, it's 7 green for a legendary artifact. It costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. and then you can tap it to add 2 green to your mana pool, and you gain 2 life. Didn't need to do that. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on it, and it draws a card. So you don't need to cast it; it just needs to enter the battlefield. Can be a token. It's fine. Or no, it can't be a token. Excuse me, I just read that. But even in a situation where you don't have anything to cast, you can still tap it at the end step before your turn and gain 2 life. Like, it's just...
Yep.
This card is so good, which is why it has the price tag that it does. I don't know if you guys have looked at it lately.
It's like 40 US.
It's like 60 now. Yeah, like this, and like so fantastic in this deck because you're just like, oh yeah, like my regular creature is getting a 1/1 counter and I'm drawing a card, and I'm doing the same for the token. It's just
It's
You're not
just a
doing the same
ridiculous
for
card.
token.
yeah, it's
Doesn't
Non-token
even make
Kevin
any
again.
sense.
non-token, right? I did it again.
You
Goddamn.
did it twice.
They shouldn't have put that on the card because
Yeah, like
just-
why
it
would
would've
they
been better.
even- Why,
It
why
would've
would
been
they even
better.
hold back? I don't even
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
They should have just said, okay, never mind. It's just two mana, and you get all of this plus tokens, plus the tokens
And
trigger.
it costs 1 green less to cast for the greatest power among creatures you control. So you can just drop it for free sometimes.
Yeah. There you go.
But yeah, like even like it's just like, oh yeah, on top of our creatures entering and drawing a card, it also gets a 1/1 counter, so it's just a little bit stronger.
Yeah. No, it's great.
I mean, it's tough to cast. It's 9 CMC. Like,
Yeah.
Come
it
on.
is.
Oh.
It's tough to cast. I tell you the number of times I've hard casted this for its CMC. It's none. It's none times.
but yeah, the obviously Stronic Resonator. So 2 mana for an artifact. You can pay 2 and tap it to copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So Volo triggers off of you casting a creature spell. So then you just get another copy.
Yeah. No, this card is so... And, like, this is a very unique ability. Like, Lithoform Engine has it. But other than that, copying triggered abilities is very rare. I don't know that any other card in the game has it. So if you have a commander that works this way, slot Stronic Resonator in there.
And then this is also like cheaper money-wise and also mana-wise compared to Lithoform as well.
Yeah, like Lithoform is sort of like a win more card, and again, like there are other cards that do what each one of its 3 activated abilities do on their own, like Stronic Resonator being one of them. So like I lean more towards Stronic Resonator, but yeah, if you're going for more of like a slower effect, or you want all those effects and you want to be able to double them, then yeah, check out Lithoform Engine. But that card is pretty pricey because it's a mythic from Zendikar Rising, right?
Something like that.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess because it's a mythic. Sometimes I feel like an old man when I look at card prices, and I'm like, I've never seen that card anywhere. Why is it that price? I just sort of scratch my head. And one of those cards is in my honorable mentions, so we'll get to that. Oh well, Crystal Shard is an interesting card here. It's 3 mana for an artifact. You can pay 3, tap it, or pay a blue and tap it to return target creature to its owner's hand unless its controller pays 1. This is like an interesting little like protection card for Volo, but it's also a value card if you just want to like bounce a creature that you can cast again, like bounce it on end step and then cast it again on your turn. Like, this is a really cool card.
Yeah, and it punishes people for tapping out too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think you're probably putting it in for that utility feature where like you're just using it kind of like a Team or Sabretooth kind of effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, if somebody taps out and you're just like, okay, well, bounce
You
a
punish
creature.
now. I punish you.
Yeah, bounce their big like 8 or 7 mana play that's on turn 7.
Yeah.
And they use their Gilded
like-
Goose and a food token to cast it, and they didn't draw a land, so now they're fucked.
Sucker. Yeah, I was gonna say a nice little combo actually is Lightning Greaves. So if you play out Crashing Drawbridge later, you can lightning greaves it, tap it right away to give everything haste. So on a later turn, you can still give everything haste right away.
Boots, walls with boots.
Yep.
Walls with boots.
These boots make me go fast.
I'm not a smart man, but I got boots. Next up, we have Enchants. We have Garrick's Uprising, Guardian Project, and Parallel Lives. So Parallel Lives, I think, is perfect in here. And Garrick's Uprising is a super powerful card. So it's 2 and a green for an enchantment, of course. When it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample, and whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. So if you have like this and the Great Hench on the battlefield, and you're wheeling and dealing with some beefies, like, it's just, you're probably going to win that game. But I love this card. I loved it when it was printed. I've been playing it quite a bit in Brawl, and it delivers, because even on turn 3, if you don't have a 4-power creature on the battlefield, you play this because you're going to get that draw, right? Like, you're always going to get that drawback as you play more creatures. So this card is just fantastic. And if you're doubling up your creature spells with Volo, you're just going to draw 2 cards. So this card is amazing. If you have like a deck that has sort of like an average power of 4 or greater, like, give this a look. Like, if you have like a Omnath Locus of Rage deck, bingo, this card.
Now, Eric, I do have a couple bones to pick. Okay, so Parallel
Lives doesn't work.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Because this is...
I just noticed that.
Yeah. The creature's being copied on the stack, so it's not actually being created on the battlefield.
Yeah.
So just how... It's really weird. I honestly don't know why Magic wrote the rules in this way, but back when they made this whole copy a creature spell on the stack thing, they specifically said, like, it doesn't work with Parallel Lives effects, right? Where tokens are being created, because the token is coming in as a copy of the creature. It's not being created on the battlefield. So weird language issue, and honestly, I think it's just weird design in general, because you would think that Parallel Lives works, right?
Yeah.
On its face.
Yep.
But it just doesn't.
I just put it in there because I was like, oh, tokens, yeah, we're good to go. But then as we were looking here, I was like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either.
And Guardian Project. So Guardian Project's fantastic card in a vacuum, but it actually is a non-bow with Volo.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, because so you
same
cast the
name as
creature. The creature goes on the stack. Then Volo's trigger will go on the stack. You'll create the token copy. The token will enter. It won't trigger because it's a token. And then your original creature will enter, but it already sees that there's a creature with the same name on the battlefield. Yeah.
Dang.
So, I mean, leading up to casting Volo, Guardian Project's going to do its thing, right? So it's still a good card, but specifically when it comes to Volo, it becomes a non-bow and a commander for the first time.
Yeah, the perfect commander card is no longer. All right, our next category is removal and counters. We have Beast Within, Counterspell, Crow's Grip, Mana Drain, and Pongify. This category is unassailable.
Am I mean?
Yeah. Mana Drain? Ouch.
Yeah.
Mana Drain's fine. It's just a better counterspell.
I know it's a better counterspell. I'm just saying, ouch. Like, come on.
I don't know. Ever since the reprint, it's just like, let's play Mana Drain.
Yeah. Yeah, before it creeps back up to $100.
Yeah. Yeah, this is just all good stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, there is a lot of creature removal with the creatures themselves, but it's always good to have, like, a Pongify or a Beast Within.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Crow's Grip is just no questions asked removal.
Get out of here.
Yep.
I didn't ask any questions.
Next up, we have utility lands. We have Ancient Tomb, Arch of Orazca, Command Beacon, Scavenger Grounds, War Room, and Wasteland. Love me some Scavenger Grounds. Just get rid of that graveyard. And also helps with Volo if you want to exile some stuff from your graveyard. Not that you have any matching creature types, but if you did, that would help because he cares about that too.
It's a good point.
Totally.
Ancient Tomb works with Kyora's follower.
Yep.
Just gonna take a lot of damage.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I was like, Kevin would do it.
Yeah. I'd do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For like, I mean, if it's gonna make your turn explosive, I'd pay it.
Well, if it's gonna make your turn explosive, yeah.
Yeah, and Arch of Veraska is the other card you have in here with Ascend and with all the extra permanents you'll be creating. It's not going to be too difficult to get to that point. Not that the City's Blessing is too difficult to get in any regular Commander game, but it's just a nice little bit of mana sink if you want to draw a card late in the game.
Did you play like a?
Total.
I don't think you have like a Seedborn or anything, right?
Nope.
I'm just like how often do you want to like basically put in 6 mana to draw a card?
if you're desperate, you know.
I guess so, right? Like
Yeah, and I think this seems like a long game deck, right? So
yeah,
Well, it could definitely end games quickly, but also like,
I guess you have Peregrine Drake. You could probably do something there. I don't know.
yeah. I wanted to do more with card draw, but like a lot of the other creatures that enter are just like overlapping so many of the same creature type.
Yeah,
So it's really difficult to get something there.
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and like War Room's nice, right? You just have to pay 2 life, and yeah. It's on my list too, Riley, so don't worry about it.
What was that?
What?
Mall Drifter.
Also, for how explosive the deck is with the commander, it's a really good idea to have a command beacon, I think, with Volo.
Definitely. I've been putting Command Beacon into a lot more of my deck since the reprint because it's so cheap now.
Yeah, I bought like 4 or 5.
Yeah, I put one into Arcades. It's a 3-color deck, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need a Reliquary Tower in here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Command Beacon's
Reliquary
more
Tower.
important.
Yeah, Reliquary Tower I think is overrated.
It is, but because the deck is ideally drawing so many cards, you throw that in there. But Command Beacon's better because the deck doesn't function without
The commander.
the
Yeah.
commander. I guess you
I
can
think-
have High Alert. That's like
I
a
think-
secondary commander.
More often than not, like I mean, I like you could play an artifact deck and I think get away with a lot of colorless lands, but I think overall I'd prefer having a colored source than a Reliquary Tower.
Yeah, because how often are you in that situation, right, where you have to discard?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't come
Like
up too often.
I'd rather play a Thought Vessel than a Reliquary Tower.
That's true. Well, yeah, because
And-
ramps,
and-
right? So,
Yeah, and risk like losing it to Vandal Blast or something like that. Our last category is colored lands. We have 30 of them. We have Bark Channel Pathway, with the flip side being Tide Channel Pathway. It's the Simic Pathway MDFC. We have Breeding Pool, Castle Garenbrig, Castle Vantris, Command Tower, Flooded Grove, 14 Forests, Hinterland Harbor, 6 Islands, Rejuvenating Springs, Waterlogged Grove, and Yavimea Coast. That's like an engine sound, right? That you can be like ringing.
Yeah.
I love the number of basic lands you have in here. We have a total of 20 basic lands out of 30 colored lands, and that's a nice that's a nice number to have. You want that? You want a beefy amount of basic lands.
Well, and considering all the green pips, like it makes a ton of sense why you're weighted a lot more towards forests. So
Yeah. And then, on that note, most of the rest of the lands fix. So even if you're drawing too many green sources, if you have some of your other non-basic lands, they do fix. And Castle Garenbrig is a real powerhouse. So it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a forest, and then you can tap it for a green mana. And then you can pay 2 and 2 green to tap it to add 6 green to your mana pool, which you can only spend to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. And I wasn't really sold on this card when it was first spoiled. I sort of it was like when I saw Oko, and I'm like, no, that's a bad card. But this is actually like this can really it sort of puts you a turn ahead, and it can really it can be explosive.
It's a better Temple of the False God.
Exactly.
In green.
Yeah.
I think
That's what it is.
More often than not, I mean, you're going to be casting a big green creature, right? So yeah, definitely better Temple of the False God in that sense.
Yeah, it gets your Vorinclex monstrous raider out on 5 instead of 6.
There you go.
Yeah.
Jam it. And I mean, if you start off with an ancient tomb there, then you got a forest, and then another forest, and then this thing. Boom.
You
Turn
got a stew.
four.
You got a stew going.
Turn 4.
Too bad Thought
Vorinclex.
Sponge isn't green, right?
Oof.
But yeah, just a solid land base here.
Yeah, solid deuce.
You gotta. I mean, there are things that can enter the battlefield tapped, but I don't think it's gonna happen too often.
Yeah, no, I think you should be good without any tap lands here. It's just the castles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have like a turn 1 breeding pool, yeah, don't pay the life, unless you're gonna do a Birds of Paradise, then definitely always pay the life. Pay it, please.
Yeah, you got that
it's
birds,
worth
you
it.
got that soul ring.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
I'll pay it for Soul Ring. You have to.
Yeah, and if you got that turn 1 ancient tomb, you're damn right I'm jamming up Ornithopter of Paradise turn 1.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Okay, we gotta stop talking about this because I'm getting excited.
Man, that'd be a turn 2 Volo.
It would be,
That
yeah.
would be turn
You got
2
the ancient
Volo.
tomb Ornithopter, and then turn 2 play another land.
Boom.
Nice. Can we get a turn 1 Volo here? We need like an Elvish Mystic or something.
Yeah, you'd need like a mana crypt and
Yeah.
some other shit.
And
Yeah, I don't.
And that's what I wanted to mention about this deck. So this on Scryfall, according to TCG Player, it's $552.19 and dollars. And this is sort of what I would consider to be. I wouldn't consider this to be necessarily budget, but this is definitely like in my budget. If I'm going to build a deck that's kind of like a deck that I want to be able to win with on a fairly regular basis. And I think a lot of the choices that Eric you made with that in mind, and I just appreciate that, because you could have just like swung for the fences, but like you kept it like competitive, and like this is a deck that can win, especially the mana base. It's good, but like you didn't like break the bank with it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like there's no fetch land. There's no obviously like original duel or anything like that. Yeah, it's still fine.
And I mean,
I was actually surprised at how expensive the friggin' shock lands are.
Oh, they're great, especially breeding.
Well, especially breeding pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Volo's nice because he's a commander that kind of leaves himself open to interpretation, right? You could definitely build this on a budget, and I think you could have a pretty spicy brew on a budget. So super cool commander, very open-ended. You could spice it up with whatever kind of creatures you want, or skew it towards any particular direction you want. And it touching green, like a lot of some great like accessible cheap mana ramp is in green. So yeah, you could definitely put together a pretty competitive budget brew.
Yeah, because like that being said, getting 2 creatures for every creature you cast is very powerful, even if they're not like top tier or whatever. Like shaving off a sixth of the budget here is like just take Crater Hoof out of the deck.
Oh yeah.
Right, like
And to what you said about doubling your creature spells being incredibly powerful. Like think about Riku of 2 Reflections. You have to pay for that. This just gives you the effect for free.
It just happens.
Yeah. So.
But make sure to keep that Uktabi orangutan in there.
Yes. You don't want to keep that.
I've got. I think I might have another ape option in my honorable mentions. I guess we'll see.
Okay. I was gonna. I wanted.
Spicy.
I have Simeon Spirit Guide on my list, but I thought you guys would make me lose points because it's not in the color identity. Was I right about that?
Yeah, it wouldn't be legal.
Okay, so let's get to the honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions.
Riley and I have both prepared a list of cards that we think would work well in this build. So you kick it off. Do the first couple.
Okay. I'm gonna start off. I'm going in category order. So
me too. Perfect.
We're starting off with Let's Win with Damage.
Yeah.
First option. I noted the creature types here because when I was going through this list, I figured, okay, some of these cards in Eric's list are pretty fucking out there. So I imagine he's going for like it has to be a lone creature type, right?
Yeah.
There can't be any overlap. Now there is
Yeah,
definitely
you can also choose to like get rid of a creature type as well, right?
yeah, and like I said, talking about like the budget version and other ways to build the deck, I think it would be safe as a rule of thumb to like have maybe one, maybe two other creatures in the deck that overlap with a creature type. I think more often than not, it's still gonna be effective, especially when it comes to like creature-based mana ramp, because you're usually developing with that creature in the early game before Volo even cares about it, right? So if there's some overlap there, not the end of the world. And if there's some other utility creatures that overlap that you don't really care about doubling up, not the end of the world. But anyway, I digress. The first creature on my list is Earthshaker Giant. So this is actually a creature from, I think it was it's the second game night bundle thing they did. So it's like the 5 monocolored decks that are supposed to face off well together. Right. So it's 4 green for a giant druid. It's a 6/6 with trample, and when it enters the battlefield, each other creature you control gets +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. So just another overrun effect. Obviously, it'd be nice to double it up with Volo, but yeah, this is kind of like if you're looking to find a more budget-friendly option for your goat. This is definitely something to consider. And then another option I have here, a personal favorite of mine, is Hornet Queen. So it's an insect.
Yeah.
4 green for an insect, 2/2 with death touch and flying. And when it enters the battlefield, you create, was it 4? I think it's 4.
4, yeah.
Insects with flying and death touch. So just another way to go wide and give you some relevant evasion plus death touch, so you could play offensive or defensive. Just a really good card, especially if you're pairing with overrun effects like Earthshaker Giant or Craterhoof Behemoth.
Do another one, Riley.
All right, do you want me to move on to the value?
Yeah, well, let's get to the value.
All right, for the value, an option for a worm. Just an uncommon, but I got Bookworm. So 7 and a green for 7/7 trample. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life and draw a card. And you can pay 2 and a green to put it from your graveyard into your library, 3rd from the top. So just, cast it, get 2 7/7s, gain 6 life, draw 2 cards. Just figured it'd be like a spicy budget top end.
Heck yeah, that's a good worm.
Yep, and it's kind of sticky, right? Not, it's easy to bring back. Never goes to the... Well, it does go to the graveyard, but you can bring it back.
And another one here. This one is definitely not budget, but I've got Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. 1 green-blue for 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless it was escaped. And when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you gain 3 life, draw a card, then you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield, and you can escape for green, blue, and exile 5 other cards from your graveyard, basically to cast it from your graveyard. So just a value stupid card.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like not budget. Like the some of the copies are like
I guess it has come down a bit.
$10 to $15 with all the bannings.
Yeah,
it's been banned out a lot of stuff. Yeah,
yeah. I think that's definitely hit its price tag. Yeah, this card used to be like $40 or $50. So
yeah. No.
Since we're talking about worms, I just want to talk about the other one I kind of mentioned that I got rid of in place of Worm Coil. But there's this worm out there called Bellowing Tangleworm.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's 3 of anything and 2 green for a 4/4. It has Intimidate, but it also gives other green creatures you control Intimidate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a nice way to get in damage.
Yeah.
What about taking a couple steps back here to the winning with damage category? What about God Eternal Ronus? It's 3 double green for a 5/5 legendary zombie god. So like it's a legendary, so you're not going to get both tokens, but it has Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, double the power of each other creature you control until end of turn. Those creatures gain Vigilance until end of turn, and when God Eternal Ronus dies or is put into exile from the battlefield, you may put it into its owner's library third from the top. So you could kind of keep the token and then put the card into your library third from the top. But my question is, would the doubling effect stack?
Yeah, so it would double, then double
Yeah.
again.
Okay, so this might be an option.
Yeah, that sounds pretty spicy.
It's kind of spicy, yeah.
Yeah, it just kind of came to me.
I like it.
So what else do you have for value, Riley?
All right. Well, I know Kevin has this one on his list as well, but I've got Bramble Sovereign.
Yeah, I had this in the next category, but yeah, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, so Bramble Sovereign, this is from Battle Bond. It's 2 green for a Dryad. I don't know if you had a Dryad in your list or not.
Yeah, there is.
Is there? Which?
Tendershoe Dryad.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, but it's a 4/4 Dryad. It says whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a green. If you do, create a creature, or that creature's controller, creates a token that's a copy of that creature. Nice Volo impersonation. Obviously, you have to pay for it, but
Right.
If Volo gets hated out of the game, at least you've got some way to generate some extra value if you need to.
Got a nice backup.
And if he doesn't, then you're just getting another token if you can pay for it. If they're both on the battlefield.
Yeah, get 3.
Yeah, get 3. And also this is also not a budget card. The price on this card is like $25 USD. Mythic from Battle Bond, I guess. I don't know. Can you get foils? Oh, they're not actually that much more expensive. That's nice. But
also, like, you can give your opponents extra creatures this way too.
Yeah, it can be used as a political card, for sure. So you could do that. Yeah. So interesting little card. I've often thought about trying it out in Yisan, but then I look at the price tag and I'm like, I'll just use a proxy.
Last one for this section, the value, is Diluvian Primordial. So this is an avatar. I don't know if you had an avatar. It's really hard to keep track of all of your creature types. But 5 blue gets you a 5/5 with flying. And it says when Diluvian Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. And if a spell cast this way would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. So just a nice, value in itself. You're likely going to be hitting 2, maybe 3 instants or sorceries from your opponent's graveyards. And if you can double it up, maybe more.
I'm trying to look up a list of all the primordials. Wow, what's the cycle? What's the green one from the Diluvian? What's the green one from that cycle?
Oh, it's like Sylvan Primordial?
It's Band and Commander.
Yeah, Band and Commander.
Sylvan Primordial
is really, it? I think it's Sylvan Primordial.
Oh, it is Band. Yeah.
It's Sylvan Primordial.
This and
for
Prime
sure.
Time. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really good card.
It's
it blows
good,
up permanence and ramps you. So
yeah,
there's some pretty gross stuff you can do with it.
No kidding. So moving on to the next category for honorable mentions, which is unique utility creatures. Mine was Bramble Sovereign, but Riley, if you have a few that you can cycle through, please do.
All right, I got a jellyfish for contention here.
Okay, let's hear it.
A oldie but a goodie. It's Mana War. 2 and a blue. Mana War enters the battlefield. Return target creature to its owner's hand. It's a 2/2. Notably, it's return target creature, so it can bounce itself. So you can create a token copy, bounce something, and then when this guy hits the battlefield, you can just bounce it back to your hand and then jump block with the token copy and just rinse and repeat. So nice little utility there. You could even bounce your own stuff.
You can.
Yeah.
Love Mana War.
I've also got Biogenic Ooze, another ooze option. Figured this one would be a nice one to double up, just to make like an ooze army. It's 3 green for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 2/2 green ooze creature token, and at the beginning of your end step, put a +1/+1 counter on each ooze you control. And you can also pay 1 green, green, green to create a 2/2 green ooze creature token. So if you're making a bunch of infinite mana and you need some place to put it, you could always just make more oozes.
An ooze army. Yeah, that's a good.
And even if you just play this, you're gonna have 4/4 oozes at the end of your turn.
Yeah, and it's just going to keep getting bigger from there.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I like it.
That's a good ooze.
It's a good ooze.
This is an older card as well. It's Brutalizer Exarch. So
What?
it's actually been errated to become a Phyrexian cleric. So no longer just a cleric.
Right.
But it's a 3/3. And it says, when Brutalizer Exarch enters the battlefield, choose one, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it, or put target non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. So just a nice utility kind of removal / like tutor effect. So I think like this deck is not going to have too many issues generating mana. So it might be nice to dust off the old Brutalizer Exarch here.
What a card.
When did they do that? When did they switch all the or errata the Phyrexian creatures to be also Phyrexian in addition to their other types?
I think it was in
It's
Kaltheim.
pretty recent. Okay.
Yeah, because they introduced the Phyrexian type.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well.
Yeah, which is like even more to kind of build into the speculation that, we're gonna have Phyrexians back, and I don't know, maybe do some. I want to see Phyrexians versus Eldrazi. I think that would be dope.
Battle for the Ages.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I wonder who would win. I feel like, I don't know. It's tough, right? Because they
Big
both
Mama
seemingly have,
Emrakul is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about the Eldrazi, and if you want to find out more about this, go back and listen to our Eldrazi Explained episode. But the thing about them is like the representations that like the Titans have on the planes that they visited, like that's not their true form. It's sort of like they're reaching out into that plane and projecting themselves. So their true form almost certainly is far more devastating than what we've seen. So it just seems like they're way worse than the Phyrexians. But I don't know. That would be, I want to see it. I want to see it regardless.
All right, this is a good one. Clever Impersonator. So for 2 blue, you get a shapeshifter, and you can have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any non-land permanent on the battlefield. So just a nice way of getting 2 copies of something on the battlefield.
Yeah, 2 copies of anything because it targets a permanent. I like it.
You got that Tendershoot Dryad out there already? Impersonate it.
Twice.
Then you would get 4. You would get 4 9/9s every single upkeep.
It's just unnecessary.
I think I think Tendershoot Dryad is the secret commander of this deck.
Yeah. All right, and one more here. This is the last one of my unique utility creatures. It's Uvenwald Hydra. 4 green. It's got, it's a Hydra, and it's got star power. It's got reach. Its power and toughness is equal to the number of lands you control. And when it enters the battle... Sorry?
Oh, sorry. I just said it's got star power.
Yeah. It has this ETB where it says, when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, notably a land, and put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library.
I actually got rid of that card last minute because of my own stipulation. I didn't notice that Apex Devastator was a Chimera Hydra.
Oh.
And I had it in the deck, and I was like, sweet. And then I was like, oh,
yeah,
it's also a Hydra.
Too bad.
But I would still run both. I would run both of them still.
Yeah.
Ulvenwald Hydra is so good.
Oh, yeah. Great card.
Okay, so moving on to the next category here, creatures to draw you cards. I know we mentioned this in the preamble here, but I think Muldrifter is fantastic. Right? I know you agree with me because you can always just, even if you evoke it, you still get the double evoke. That's what I love about Volo. You just you still get that. So I would give that another thought, but there's, you know, there's all kinds of creatures that ETB and draw cards besides Muldrifter.
If you evoke Muldrifter, does the token still stay in play?
No, it would copy all
It
of
also
all
of its stuff. Okay.
Yeah, so it copies like, well, in theory, if you had to choose a mode before it entered the battlefield, then it would copy that trait. But yeah, it just copies every trait that you put it onto the stack with. So.
Okay.
But most creatures ETB and have an effect, so you don't have to choose at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I have one more, but Riley, why don't you take a crack at this category?
Sure. There's actually, now that I'm looking at it, there's quite a few druids in this category for me. I feel like druids are drawing cards here.
Right?
Beast Whisperer, I figured would be a good one.
Yeah, that's my other one. Yeah, because it's like a right, because it's great because it's like Guardian Project.
Yeah,
but
except it works.
Yeah, except it works. And you get to draw a card off of the token because you're don't you? How does Volo read? It's with a creature you control.
Well, it's a cast trigger.
Okay, you copy the spell, so aren't you casting it an additional time?
No, it doesn't say you may cast that copy. It just says you copy it.
Oh,
so you just put the copy on the stack.
All right. Well, still, it's good.
But Beast Whisperer is still a good card. So
yeah.
And if you have Volo out and cast Beast Whisperer, you have two of them.
Right.
So you will draw two off of a cast.
All right.
There you go.
So we just need to have that setup cost. I can do that.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Another option. I know you have a Steve already, so you've got snakes covered, but Icefang Quaddle, I figured would be a nice little cantrip. You could definitely do Snow Basics just to turn the Death Touch on, but honestly, I don't think that's really
necessary.
Yeah, it's not totally necessary. It's just the idea is that you're casting this and potentially drawing two cards from the deal. So just a nice little cantripping creature, similar to Fibblethip.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've got another one. This is, well, I guess it's not. This is already like a year old or something like that. Either way, Corset 2021, Llanowar Visionary. So 2 and a green. You get an elf druid. Again, elf druid. So you got to kind of pick and choose how many elves and how many druids you want. But a 2/2, when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and it can tap for a green mana. So just a nice cantripping ramp spell.
Yeah, love this card.
I'll keep going here. This one, I'm a little bit skeptical about this one in particular. I love Coiling Oracle, but it has three creature types. So it's a really good card, but it does have 3 creature types, so it's kind of hard for Volo. Green and a blue for a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, reveal a top card of your library. If it's a land, you put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you put it into your hand. So, great card, but maybe not the place in Volo.
Yeah. Perhaps not.
And then my last one for this section is Wall of Blossoms. So a plant wall. You already have 2 of those creature types in your deck. You have your wall in your Crashing Drawbridge, and you've got your plant in your whatever tapping hexproof defender thing is. I can't remember.
Sylvan Caryatid.
That's the one. So 1 and a green, 0/4 defender, enters the battlefield, draws a card.
So the next category is creatures can ramp. What do you have for that?
I don't have any.
Oh, me neither. Okay, so let's just move on to ETB removal.
Well, if you're looking for a good elephant, I mean, you already have whatchamacallit, you have Terastodon, which is a great elephant. But another good elephant to consider is Thorn Mammoth. This was actually part of the Brawl decks in Throne of Eldraine. So 5 green, you get an elephant, 6/6 with trample. When it enters the battlefield, or when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control.
This thing is a house. This thing can just like pew, pew, pew. Just get it. This card is fantastic.
Yeah, kind of like a smaller Apex Allosaur.
Yeah.
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 Love this card. So I was sort of thinking about Amphine Mutineer for this category.
Ooh.
So it's the static ability doesn't work with Encore, but just the initial burst of getting rid of multiple creatures would could work well, right? And you're just I don't know, because you're getting the 4th, like they're getting the 4/3, so if you copied it, that's not necessarily ideal, but you could get rid of some utility pieces that
I think like when you're
could be a
casting this,
problem.
you're definitely you're basically taking away more than them having a 4/3. So
yeah, and then then you have an army of salamanders swinging at you after that.
All right, another one on my list here. This is actually from Modern Horizons 2, and I really like this card. It's an elemental. It's called Foundation Breaker. 3 and a green. For a 2/2, when it enters the battlefield, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment, and it has Evoke for 1 and a green. It's kind of like a naturalized cost. Again, it's an elemental. You really have to pick and choose how many elementals you want to cram into your deck.
there's so many good elementals.
But this card is fantastic. Like it's kind of this acidic slime kind of impression. I mean, it can't hit lands, but it does everything else. And just being able to, in a fail case, like evoke it for 1 and a green, I think that's huge.
Yeah, Evoke with Volo is really nice. It works. It's a spicy. So, I was thinking for this category, kind of anything like Gilded Drake or Sword of Temptation, like right now in Standard, like Mind Flayer has this effect where, you get to, you play one of these creatures, copy it with Volo, you get to take control of 2 creatures. Gilded Drake, not so great because you have to trade it. But
Or even like
it's
an
only
Agent of
2 mana.
Treachery.
Yeah, Agent of Treachery is great. Well, Agent of Treachery is even better, right? Because it cares about how many permanents you control
You'd be drawing like 6
that
cards
you don't
if
own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's spicy.
So yeah, kind of anything like that. But even right now, like I said, in Standard, Mind Flayer is a solid card, right? You do Volo on 4 and Mind Flayer on 5. It's
although I think Agent of
Bob's
Treachery is a
Uncle.
human, so that wouldn't
It
work
is.
with Volo.
no, that
it
wouldn't
is.
Boo.
work. Nice catch.
Boo.
But yeah, Mind Flayer being a horror is pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Mind
I've
Flayer
had a
is
lot
a
of fun.
horror.
I've had a lot of fun with it.
I think I like that better than the horror I have in the deck, which just pumps creatures.
Okay. Well, I think it's dirt cheap, so if you want to pick it up.
Sweet.
Hey, I heard you like apes.
Riley's got
I
an
got-
8.
I got
What's the ape?
Kolga, the Titan ape.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Three
yeah.
green. Enters the battlefield. Fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. When it attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls, and you can pay 1 and a green. Return target human you control to its owner's hand, and it gains indestructible. It's a 7/6. So it can enter the battlefield, fight something to death. It can make a copy of itself. I mean, it's legendary, so you're going to legend rule, but it's going to fight something in the meantime. Oh, no, I guess it wouldn't because it would be gone before it actually fights.
Yeah.
Either way, that doesn't matter. It's still a big fucking ape, and you can bounce Volo to your hand to protect it.
Oh yeah.
So maybe a little bit of a non-bow in the sense that it's legendary, but I think being able to protect Volo and like still wrecking house by itself is probably worth considering.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to Mana Ramp. I didn't have anything for this section. I was
Me neither.
thoroughly pleased with the category, so we can move on to utility artifacts. I have one. It's Twinning Staff from Commander 2020. So not an altogether exciting card, but I think an early Twinning Staff could generate a ton of extra value. So kind of like Bramble Sovereign is gonna copy spells. Twinning Staff can, just copy more of your spells.
Yeah, actually, even like in a sense, I think twinning staff is kind of better than.
Stronic Resonator?
Yes, thank you. I think so, because it's free. It does what that does, but it's free, right?
Hell
Yeah.
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 So it's
So twinning staff.
yeah, it costs 1 more mana to cast, but after that, you're just
Worth it.
It's free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely put that in instead of Stronic Resonator.
Yeah,
What's wrong with me?
and it curves well into Volo, right? So,
Totally.
yeah.
Thank you, Kevin.
you got it.
An option for a utility artifact on my end here is Portal of Sanctuary. So it's 2 and a blue for an artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it to return target creature you control and each aura attached to it to their owner's hands, activated only during your turn. So this is kind of like a crystal shard impression. Obviously, it's one-sided only during your turn, so it's a little bit more limited. But still, like if you're interested in bouncing things back to your hand to recast them, then this is it's gonna do the trick.
the way to do it.
On a budget, 11 cents. Bam! Can't get better than that.
You just can't beat that.
Hey.
That's all I have for utility artifacts.
Okay, so moving on to enchants. I didn't have anything. What do you got, Riley?
0.
All right, moving on to removal and counters. So, also this category, great, loved it. It's made me proud. But I thought with all the permanents you have, with all the creatures you have, I don't know what you'd remove, not necessarily from this category, but maybe from another one. But I thought heroic intervention would be great. A hard counterspell is nice, and mana drain is even better. This is always just something I tend to think about in green decks, in addition to counterspells, and in a 2-color deck, the 1 and a green make it a little bit easier to cast than a double blue pip.
Yeah, just get that parallel lives out of there.
Yeah, there you go.
Get it out of here.
Yeah.
Only thing that comes to mind for me is, it's the deck is heavy on green, so double blue might be tough, especially in the early parts of the game. Like if you're looking to use a counterspell in the early game. So something like Arcane Denial or like Memory Lapse or Delay, something that's a little bit easier on the blue mana might be worth considering over counter spells specifically. I mean, mana drain is powerful in its own right. So if you have a mana drain, you better damn well play it. But like if you're looking to have something that's a little bit more easy to cast in the early parts of the game, then you might want to consider something with just a single blue pip.
Moving on to still staying on this category. I have just one more, and it's Perplexing Test. So this is a new one from the latest. No, not the latest Commander set, because we haven't reviewed that yet. The Strixhaven Commander set. It's 3/2 blue for an instant. Choose one. Return all creature tokens to their owner's hands, or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. So this is like a. It's not a better evacuation, but it's a
Good
kind
impersonation.
It's a kind of evacuation. I still think I would rather run evacuation in most cases, but in a deck like this where you're creating a ton of tokens, you could be in a situation where you just want to keep, you want to wipe the board, but you want it to kind of be one-sided. So you cast this and choose to return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands, and you'll lose Volo and all your other non-token creatures, but you'll still have all those tokens. So this could kind of be this would at least be fun to try and see how effective it is, and in token decks in general. Not that that's what this deck is.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's actually pretty spicy for this deck. I like it.
Okay, so utility lands. I was also thoroughly satisfied with this category, but did you have anything, Rouse?
Nope.
Okay, so colored lands. I had one. We were talking about that this deck was built on a budget, and I also mentioned how many basics you had. So if you kind of wanted to stay in that realm, the dual land from Strixhaven, Vine Glimmer Snarl, which enters the battlefield. The Snarl is such a... Why did they go with Snarl? That's a weird name. But anyways, it enters the battlefield tapped unless you reveal a forest or island card from your hand. I've played with this card a little bit, and most of the time it enters the battlefield, like in a 2-color deck. Most of the time it enters untapped. So, not that you need something like this, but maybe if it's like, oh, I don't want to spend $30 on Breeding Pool. Maybe I'll try Vine Glimmer Snarl.
Snarl.
But yeah, Snarl. But if you have Breeding Pool
Snarl.
lying around, it's a better card.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
Why not both? The nice thing about Breeding Pool is you can reveal
Why
a Breeding
not?
Pool.
You sure can.
Yeah.
That's right. Or you could reveal a Mystic Sanctuary or a Gingerbread House.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Slam that gingerbread house. Get that life.
That's right. You need that. I need those food tokens.
Gingerbread House wouldn't be so bad because it actually kind of like gets you a food token, and Wicked Wolf could use a food token. So
Yeah. There you
Wicked
go.
Wolf needs a lot of help in this deck, yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, I think that is going to bring us to the end of this episode. Thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed it, we have every deck tech we've ever done in a playlist on our YouTube channel. So if you just want to go and binge those, that is always an option. If you want to check out this deck list specifically, you can use the link at the top of the show notes to do so. And actually, Eric and Riley have both laid out their decks on their Deckstats accounts that they've done for the show in a separate folder with the deck, with the episode number. It's really great. I haven't done the same thing. I'm just not as good as them. But if you do a little, if you kind of like search around and just follow the links in the episodes, you can find the decks that I've done. But next week we're going to be back with a little review of the new cards from the D&D, the Adventures in the Forgotten Realm Commander deck set. We're going to be talking about some of those cards. But until then, just take it easy out there, and maybe wear a mask, maybe don't. I guess it depends where you're going.
Yeah, it depends where you are. It depends where you're going.
Hey, you know what? No matter where you are, there you is. All right, everybody. We will talk to you next week, and thank you for listening, and goodbye for now.
Yeah, Rami and Stanley say bye.
bye, everybody. Snarl.
Turn one soul ring.
Not today.
Satan.